Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode 62 in Be With Me. We're going to talk about subjection today. The section is from Romans chapter 13, verse number 1. The title here is Submission to Authorities. That'll get your attention. Let me read, and then we'll talk about it. Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. Yikes. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of the one who is in authority? ? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval, for he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain, for he is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. Therefore, one must be in subjection, not only to avoid God's wrath, but also for the sake of conscience. For because of this you pay taxes, for the authorities are ministers of God, attending to this very thing. Pay to all what is owed them, taxes to whom taxes are owed, revenue to whom revenue is owed, respect to whom respect is owed, honor to whom honor is owed. All right, so the charge today in this passage is to be subject. Hupotasso is the Greek word. It means to submit, to be subject, to be under. It's a positional relationship where there is an arrangement where one positions himself and herself underneath the other. And it is in this context that the Lord has been working on our conduct. Remember in chapter 12, he says, I appeal to you, brothers, by the mercies of God, present your bodies, that is, present your conduct as a living sacrifice. Well, how does that happen? It happens by a transformed and renewed mind. So we started with our mind, and now we're changing our behavior. And one of the things he wants us to assess regarding our behavior is our opinion, not our opinion, but our behaviors with regards to subjection. So back up the bus 40,000 feet. God invented authority, and there is a blessing to living under civil authority. Verse 4 says that the person in authority is God's servant for your good. Now, everybody may be bristling right now and saying, hey, there can be abuses of this, and government certainly can abuse its position. But that's not what this passage is talking about. This passage is talking about citizens abusing their relationship with authority. So it's not the government here that's being criticized, even though that's a matter for a different day. The point here is today is citizens can be abusing their position underneath the authority of their government. So we have no rocks to throw unless we're throwing them at ourselves here. And it's not to say that all officials must be Christian, because any official can be doing a godly, I'm using a small g for that, can be doing a godly job. It is under the common grace of God that this is taught. All right, so everybody is subject. Everybody is in order. Everybody is under some sort of subjection and authority. If you want to study this, 1 Peter chapters 1 and 2 and 3 are the best ones, in my opinion, for this. And we find there that everybody is subject, for the Lord's sake. So the point is everybody aligns themselves under God. And then, oh, by the way, there's a subjection in God's order. So that would include the human institutions. It would include marriage. It would include children and parents. It includes the workplace, husbands and wives. So there's an order that everybody has a subjection to. It is a godly thing. It's the order of the Lord. And let's thank the Lord for the order that he does, that he establishes in the world today. It allows us to thrive. It allows us goodness. Overarching, the big umbrella is that we are subject to the Lord. And that orders our relationship with government, and our relationship in marriage, and our relationship in bosses, and our relationship in the family. And it is under the context of our subjection to the Lord that government here today is understood. So God invented it. It's here to help us, and it's here to order us and allow us to thrive. Now, the scary thing is verse 2. Resisting authority can frequently betray resisting the authority of God. So soberly here, we could be doing our authority wrong, and resisting it could incur the judgment of God. So think about your relationship to traffic laws and to taxes and to government and to election, and all these things can indicate a posture of rebellion and incur the judgment of God. And verse 3 says it can also indicate an approval. So let's be humble here. And this administration of government authority is God's, footprint or fingerprints on our world today. It's kind of like the junior version of the wrath on the wrongdoer is the authorities which have prisons and penalties and punishments. That is a junior version of God's wrath that we're going to see later. All right, so we subject ourselves, number one, to avoid wrath, but also for the sake of conscience. That is, it's a godly way to live, a transformed mind and a transformed behavior. So let us view this as really a holy exercise. And then at the final thing here, the final thing here is it has to do with taxes. Oh my goodness, now we're talking about the money where the rubber meets the road. And so taxes flow out of the subjection to the government and subjection to the Lord. So I think a couple of concluding points. Number one is let's assess ourselves that God has given a moderate amount of scriptural real estate to teach this concept. And so we could approach this and say, hey, Lord, I could be wrong about this. I could be doing my subjection category wrongly. So I arrange myself under the Lord. I arrange myself under government, and I arrange myself even under taxes and honoring. So number one here for me is thank you, Lord, for the order that has flown to the church, has flown down to the family, that flows down to the workplace, flows down to marriage, and flows down to here, government. So the charge today is to be a great citizen both of the Lord's kingdom and then the kingdom and the government that you're living in. Thanks for listening.